Hey, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the TackleTime podcast. I'm your host. My name is Nate. Thanks for dropping back in again. Definitely appreciate it. Today, we got my man Tom from Pennsylvania Monsters. You can find him on Instagram. Good friend of ours. Connected us. And we're going to piggyback today on musky fishing. And Ryan was on a couple podcasts ago. We talked about musky fishing. Now we're going to talk about it from as far as a perspective from the bank. So if you're musky fishing from the bank, kind of a basic overview, but it's important to not forget. It's important to not forget all the things that that go into it that can be successful or drag you down. So something to be mindful of. Just know that going in on this one. When we just passed the holiday season, as far as Thanksgiving, Black Friday, did you check out Tackle Buys? Did you miss all the specials we had out? If you did, I really hate to say you missed out. We had tons of specials. There were, oh man, great fish finders on sale, rod and reel combos, all kinds of stuff. So if you're not already subscribed to our mailing list, if you're not following us on social media, seeing these deals that we're posting, you're missing out. So make sure you get us on any of those platforms and check out the site next time that you need to buy new gear. If you need a new fish finder, if you need new rod and reels, if you need, soft baits, whatever it is, check out Tackle Buys before you do and find the best price on the gear you already love or find new gear that you might love and enjoy in the future. So we're going to dive right into this episode and talk to Tom. All right, guys. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Tackle Time podcast. My name is Nate, and I have Tom with me from Pennsylvania Monsters on Instagram. Tom, say hello to everybody listening in.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be on.
I got to ask, what in the world did you do to your hand, man?
It's an old injury. I aggravated it. And when you're fishing,
okay.
Repetitive motion of,
I thought you were pulling in one of those giant muskies, and that's
no, not recent. Unfortunately, not recently. Been distracted, been working a lot, but soon.
So, what made you start your Instagram? That Instagram's your main focus, right? What made you start your Instagram page?
Honestly, just I had a lot of fish pictures, and a lot of my friends were like, "Dude, you should show people these," and I never really cared much to. But then I started it, and some people were interested, and I don't know. I just started meeting a lot of really cool people, getting to fish with a lot of really cool people, and just kept it going. And
nice.
I'm still fishing with cool people, and
hell yeah.
I'm not trying to make any money off it or anything. I'm just trying to learn stuff and share stuff and meet people and fish new places.
That's awesome. Now, I think as your name would probably suggest, you are in Pennsylvania, correct?
Yeah, correct. But I do a little fishing in Ohio, New York, West Virginia, mostly Pennsylvania though.
Gotcha. Okay. What area are you based out of?
Right out of Pittsburgh, actually.
Oh shoot! What the hell? We're like a stone's throw away from each other. What are we doing this whole time?
That's what I hear. Yeah.
Damn. How about that? I'm like, we're gonna have to fix that here soon.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. No, you and I are gonna have to get together and do some fishing.
Man. Any day. You let me know the time, I'll be there.
I like it. I'm committing ahead of time, or we're just gonna have to do it. So tell me a little bit about Tom. How'd you get started fishing? What are you into now? What kind of strikes your fancy out there in the fishing world?
Yeah. So when I was little, I had a neighbor. Actually, my dad, he fished a lot, but he never really took me much. But my neighbor was really into fishing, and from a young age, he had me out in the yard, like with a fly rod, trying to hit a hula hoop and stuff. And something about it I just really liked. So I started pan fishing and like bass fishing and trout fishing, all the usual. And eventually it just kind of didn't get boring to me, but I wanted to do a little more. And then I kind of found musky, and ever since then, I haven't looked back. I mean, it's just something about it's different. It's exciting. You'll have your highest highs, your lowest lows. And that was just something that trout fishing and pan fishing didn't really do for me.
No, that's as I would probably describe, pretty elusive. It's never been a focus of mine. And I know a lot of people really lose focus and lose interest because it can be so hard. I mean, have you felt that at times? You said, I don't know why I'm doing this, and I should go back to bass fishing.
I think anybody that musky fishes feels that at some point.
Yeah.
You'll have really good days, but then you'll have the days where you're like, why? This is stupid. I should go bass fishing. Like, I'm just torturing myself. But then it's like those fish know right when you're at your lowest low, they'll show up, and then they remind you why you're doing it. And
that's awesome. Well, you know what? I think I feel that feeling every time I go out fishing. That I say,
Don't we all?
why the hell am I still doing this? I
Don't
should
we
go
all?
home and throw something on the grill, or I should
Mhm.
go whatever. That's kind of the sentiment lately for me. It's like I just sometimes it's tough, but no, I kind of figured you would feel the same way. Like I said, I know a lot of people who actually have musky fish for a long time. Have that same sentiment that
Mm.
it can be very challenging, from
It
my
can,
understanding.
and that's the fun part because you're always, no matter how much you know, there's more to know.
No, and that's what I think the entire sport of fishing kind of encompasses
Yeah.
that sentence. No matter what you
Yep.
know, there's more to know for
Yep.
sure. That's
That's
an
kind of
awesome.
what keeps us going.
No, that's awesome. So I mean I love a lot of the pictures that you're throwing on Instagram.
Thanks, man.
What are you mainly? Obviously, you're going after muskie, but
Yeah.
you do some trout fishing as well.
Yeah, do like when it's in season, we'll do a little Lake Erie steelhead and like a lot of the stuff PA has. I mean, we have a lot of trout, a lot of stock trout, a lot of bass fishing, smallmouth. I mean, we have these giant rivers and pretty much any species you want, you can go find in these rivers if you want carp, catfish, giant catfish. I mean,
Definitely.
it's cool. That's it's Pennsylvania isn't really a well-known fishing state, but there's a lot out there to go for. You have your choices. And it depending on what's biting at any time of the year, I'll fish for it. But I do like to focus on muskie for the most part.
Now, are you mostly catch and release? You like to eat a
Oh,
lot of what you catch, or
I mean, muskie, yeah, catch and release. But
sure?
sometimes when we salmon fish and stuff, if you get one that you know is gonna die, or if you need to get eggs or something, you'll keep a salmon here and there. But
Gotcha,
I'd
gotcha.
say
Okay,
like 99% catch and release. Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. So is muskie your most enjoyable the fishing experience, or do you really like going for something else a bit more?
It's
Or how's that kind of play out?
off. I mean, I do like everything. Like I'm not like a muskie snob or like a fish snob. Like I'll fish for whatever. But I think muskie gives me like the biggest rushes and like the makes me think the most and just pushes me the most as a fisherman. Yeah, I'd say so.
Now, are you fishing mainly from a boat when you go for muskie? Or I mean, I know some guys fish from a kayak, or how's
Um,
that?
yeah, I mean, I do a lot of boat fishing. I just this past year I bought my first like my own boat instead of relying on people to go in a boat, and I do like fishing out of that. But there are a lot of opportunities when you live on rivers to bank fish, and I really like to bank fish for them a lot actually. Whether
And
that be wading or walking on the bank or just on
yeah,
the boat.
yeah. Well, and I know that's something we're going to dive into here shortly. And
Yeah,
that's the topic of discussion today is all about bank fishing for
yep.
muskie. So I know you're going to give us a little bit about that, but so you've obviously gone for trout. Is that something you see yourself going to keep doing, or do
Oh
you
yeah.
still like doing it?
I mean, as long as I live here, yeah. I mean, the state puts like a big focus on stocking trout. So I
Mhm.
mean, if we have them, I'm gonna go catch them.
Absolutely. No, there's a lot of great stocking programs for people who aren't familiar with our state. It seems like every backwoods creek and even main tributary are being stocked with trout, and
Yeah.
it's a big thing, especially here in the state,
Oh
in
yeah.
PA.
And it's fun. I enjoy it.
Do you have anywhere else that you're putting out content or information at, or is it mainly on your Instagram?
Mainly on my Instagram and just I've been filming a little here and there, and I'm thinking maybe in the future I might do some videos, but I'm still getting the hang of filming
Sure.
stuff, keeping all the cameras running and
Yeah, yeah. No, that can be tough. I mean, having all the gear and making sure it's all on and getting the shots you want, especially, you have to feel like I know a lot of some of the guys I've talked to, being rigged up from every angle until you're at that point and have cameras going all the time. It can be really easy to miss a great shot or miss a great catch or whatever. And that can be really tough and really frustrating. You
I'm
spend all
learning
day
I'm learning it's like a sport in itself. So
and
pretty much. But
no,
in
you
in the
kind of
future,
have to be prepared.
yep. In the future though.
Cool, cool. Okay, well, anybody listening in, hopefully, by the time if you're catching this in the future, maybe Tom will have
Yeah,
videos out and some catches. Cool,
maybe.
man. Cool. So, what else can you tell us about you? How what brought you to this point here? Some things in your background.
Well, I fished like I said my whole life, and then I went away to college, and I kind of got away from fishing a little bit, and came back home, and I don't know something just started fishing again, and it's one of those things you do it never leaves you. Like as
Definitely.
soon as I picked up a rod again, I'm like, oh, okay, I remember why I like this, and just got right back into it. And after college, I've never been more serious about fishing or fished as much in my life, honestly.
Oh wow.
So it's just every day I'm just trying to fish more and learn more and maybe go for some new species and
That's awesome. So how often are you going in a typical week? I mean, I feel like the normal guy can only probably make it once or twice on a weekend or whatever. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. I work for myself. I do a lot of graphic design,
hmm,
so I can kind of tailor my schedule to when I want to fish and when are
wow,
good times to fish. So I'm lucky. I get to fish maybe 3 times. I call 3 times a week would be like a slow week, I'd say.
wow, damn.
I was mad at myself for only getting out 3 times, and I might not go out all day, but get out for an hour or two. And
That's awesome. No, that's great, man. Congratulations. That's awesome. I know a lot of people
yeah.
who are listening in are going to be jealous of that.
I mean, it has its perks and it has its downsides. It's tough to stay motivated when you just want to go fishing and you have work to do.
When you
It can
can't
be
buy the gear you want, that's a problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. It for sure is.
Well, cool. I guess we ought to move into the topic of discussion here tonight, which is bank fishing for muskies. And actually, one of our mutual buddies was the one who introduced us, Ryan.
Yeah.
And and obviously you guys both love fishing for muskies, but
Oh,
you're
yeah.
you're going to come at it from a different angle of fishing for muskies from the bank.
Which Ryan does a lot of that as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
I've actually fished from the bank with Ryan a good bit. I've had one of my best days from the bank with Ryan, actually.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, give us the scoop, man. Start us at ground zero. I mean, Ryan kind of brought us up to speed a little bit
Yeah.
on what muskies were way back when. That feels like forever ago, even though it wasn't that long.
Yeah.
But knowing some of the things that he told us, just ground level stuff. Take us to the next level as far as what folks need to know if they want to get started and how they ought to tackle that.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I'm no expert by any means, but like I said, I'd love to do it, and I've picked up a few things over
Yeah,
the years.
sure, sure.
The big thing, like one of the main things, is people think like to go for muskie, you have to go to like Lake St. Clair or like the St. Lawrence River, like one of these top like 10 muskie lakes or
Yeah,
rivers or whatever. And I mean, yeah, there's big fish there. It's an awesome place, but you don't have to go somewhere like that to catch a muskie. I mean, some of like the best places to fish for muskie are the places people aren't going to talk about because muskie fishing, it's a kind of tight-lipped community, I would say. So there are good spots out there. You don't have to spend $5,000 to go to a destination water to catch a fish of your lifetime. I mean,
gotcha.
you live in Pittsburgh, we have all these rivers, and you can go anywhere. You just go into Pennsylvania, like for us, go on the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission site, look at the history of where and when they've stocked muskie, go to some of these oddball places. I mean, you can create like your own Lake St. Clair. It sounds dumb, but you're not going to have a Lake St. Clair, but you can have your own little Lake St. Clair.
Sure, sure.
Spot. And there's a lot of them out there.
No, that's a great point. Absolutely. Yeah, checking out, and that was one thing Ryan mentioned, and I don't know how a lot of other states handle that, but I know with PA, there's a lot of great resources online. I would imagine that a lot of the other states have a great, encyclopedia, so to say, of fishing of lakes and rivers and all that. So,
and for PA, it's really organized. I mean, you can go by county. So say you live in like Allegheny County, you type in Allegheny County, you want to see when and where muskie have been stocked, and you get the list generated of all the places. And
no, that's awesome. Okay.
hit Google Maps and go from there. And that's one of the things shore fishing really allows you to do is you have endless possibilities. You go on Google Maps, find one of these good spots from the Fish and Boat Commission website, go on Google Maps and do some research, find little rocky shorelines or sandy shorelines or just anywhere that looks like you can get near the water. And I mean, your options are endless. You can get out there in your car, on your feet, and just go.
Yeah, you don't have to be there all day. If you only can stop for, like you said, an hour on the way, even going somewhere, it's a great time to get out there and try.
And it can be productive.
For sure. So
yeah,
taking that point, check out your local fish and game information for your state and see what you can find.
Yeah,
awesome.
And Google Maps is your best friend for that.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up because I always fail to use that. Of course, I normally fish a lot of the same places over and over again, but there's you can normally tell if you can get to the lake from a bank easily or not, just by the map.
Yeah,
so.
Lake, river, whatever. I mean, then a cool new thing they do is they have like a 3D view where you can like tilt it and go. I don't know how new that is, but I was playing around on it the other day, and I mean that's really cool too. You can really
that's awesome.
Get a good feel of whether you can access the body of water from that spot.
Dang, that's a great point. Okay.
And then when you do find these spots, like the big thing for me is like always have a plan. I mean, there's places you can go catch a muskie, but there's places that you might have a tough time landing a muskie. And for these fish, we want to handle them the best we can. So you might find a really good spot where you can't land a muskie, and that's a good idea to maybe not fish that spot. It's painful and it sucks, but you might not want to fish that spot. Go find somewhere where you can get down near the water, where you can handle a muskie properly, release it properly, and take care of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, these are big fish. I mean, can be big fish. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's, you're not gonna reel up a 10 or 15 pound fish up a 30-foot bank. So
Yeah. Or like when you see like a lot of the pier fishing and stuff, it might not be the best idea to haul musky 40 feet in the air and then throw, like just find somewhere good. Have a plan. Know when you hook the fish, where am I going to go with that fish? Like, where is my ultimate goal? Where am I going to net them, or however I'm going to get a hold of that fish? Where
that's
am I?
a good point. No, don't forget the basics. How in the world are you going to get it to you?
Yeah.
That's something I'm glad you brought up, because I would have, thinking, if I were thinking through this episode, that's something I would have easily glanced at or just forgotten all about. But it's super important. I mean, you got to think about that.
And when you hook one, it's too late to figure out a plan.
Yeah,
exactly. That's very important, especially bank fishing.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people, they don't like to take a net bank fishing, but I do. I think it can really be beneficial. I know there's a lot of fish I've caught from the bank that probably would have died if I didn't have a net.
Oh, okay.
Once you hook them, you want to get control of them. And I know a lot of guys use boga grips, but if you're a beginning angler, like, you're going to have a really hard time getting boga grips in a musky mouth from the bank. Like, depending on where you're fishing, it doesn't seem like a very safe thing to me. So I would recommend the net.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of nets out there that are bank friendly. I mean, they make the ones that not only do they telescope and extend into themselves, they fold like a big taco.
Yeah, I've seen those.
You can carry them around like a briefcase almost, and it's not like lugging one of those big 8-foot musky nets you see around. If you're going to bank fish, I think that's a really good net.
Agreed.
Yep. And another thing too, like when you are fishing from the bank, you don't have the luxury of like having your tools organized in a boat. Like, you want to keep your tools near you at all times, and you do want to take your tools bank fishing. It's a lot of stuff to take, but something I actually got, it's like this little tool roll up thing.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So you can keep all your tools in here, and it rolls up, and you can just carry it along with you. But you obviously want your long pliers. Everybody talks about that. And then some cutters, some good cutters. I mean, there's a lot of really expensive cutters out there, like $100 cutters. You don't have to spend crazy money. Just get a good pair. Don't buy a dollar pair of cutters, but get a pair that you know is going to cut hooks if you have to cut hooks. I mean, you don't want to cut hooks on every muskie you catch, but there are times where sometimes there's like the lure will be jimmied in its mouth a funny way, and by cutting a hook, you can get access to get that hook out. So you're not necessarily cutting a hook and leaving it in a muskie. You're just getting the lure out of the way and then going back and popping it out.
No, that makes sense. Absolutely.
These are the two things you would absolutely, I would say, if you don't take anything at all, take these. Take your cutters, take your long pliers.
So long pliers and cutters. Got it.
And other than that, I just have a ton of random stuff, just scissors, and actually have, in case things get really ugly, some like mini bolt cutters. I know Ryan Reed likes these too. He carries them. They're like, in case you have really, really thick hooks that you can't cut with the normal cutters, you can get at them with those.
Dang. Okay.
And some jaw spreaders. I mean, I've never had to use them, but I know a lot of guys carry them. Your hook sharpeners and
sure.
But a lot of guys don't like to take all that stuff bank fishing, and I understand. But having a little roll up thing like that, it makes it nice. You can just throw it in your backpack, throw it in your whatever you're taking with you.
No, I actually like that. Having it organized and making it easily carryable.
Yeah.
Carryable, with you to wherever you're going. I think it's a great idea. I mean, I've seen dudes who, fishing along the bank, I'm fishing out of a kayak, and they're rolling up with a cart, and it's loaded up with stuff. And I'm like,
and I mean, if you have a spot where you've been to, the spot, you're going to be there all day, go ahead and do that. I mean,
exactly.
Take your stuff. But if you're going out and you're exploring, pack light. Take your little foldable net, throw one of these, like I carry these like Plano boxes, like throw one of these, fill it with lures. Don't take any more than you put there. Throw it in your little net, and you're good to go. You don't have to take the whole shed with you to go bank fishing.
Agreed. No, especially if you're just figuring it out.
Yeah.
So is this something you're doing a lot of, even though you have a boat? Are you still bank fishing quite a bit for muskie?
At times of the year, it can, like I said, it can be really productive. I mean, in PA, we're allowed to fish during the spawn. So during the spawn in the rivers and the lakes and stuff, those fish tend to go up shallow, or shallower than they usually do. And, I mean, bank fishing and shallow, they kind of go hand in hand almost. So that can be a really good time of the year to go out and beat the banks and throw on the waders or throw on the boots. And
yeah, agreed. Okay.
I mean, I'll do it all year. I mean, there's times where you can kind of hone in on your local waters. Like there are times where some of your bank spots may be more productive than going out in the boat. And
Sure.
that's
Gotcha.
one of the things bank fishing allows you to do is you can kind of become like an expert at that spot. I mean, you go out in a boat and you just have like endless opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
You go bank fishing, you're kind of in a spot, like you really become like one with this spot if you pick out a good spot. And
Absolutely. Yeah. No, like the back of your hand.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. Okay. So
Yeah.
how does your fishing technique change? Obviously in a boat things are different. You have more space. You have some things are just better, some things are worse. But how does your technique really change when you're in a boat fishing for muskie versus fishing from a bank? Let's probably dive into a little bit of that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I would say is from the bank, you're not using as heavy. Well, for the most part, if you're fishing for like shallow rivers or like from the bank at a lake, you're not using like giant lures.
Sure.
You're using
Okay.
smaller baits that you're not going to get snagged, baits that you don't want to lose. Because I mean, you're bank fishing, you can't just drive to the other side and shake the bait out. If you get,
Yeah.
you're
Yep.
probably going to lose it. So I mean, I won't. A lot of my lure selection for bank fishing is a little bit cheaper, maybe, than from
Got
the boat.
got
And
it. Okay.
another thing you can do, you can put the ball in your court. Replace your hooks with a little bit of a lighter hook. I'm not necessarily like a teeny tiny frail hook, but maybe go like a size down or something that you can really straighten out. So if you get snagged, we're using this really heavy gear. I mean, 80-pound test, 100-pound or more leaders. You can straighten these hooks out if you put enough force on them and pull on them long enough. You can pop your lure free. So
Gotcha.
bank fishing, it might not be the best time for the giant like 4X hooks and the really really heavy stuff because you're not going to straighten those out.
No, yeah, you won't be getting that. Good
No.
Got it.
Then
Okay.
you got to straddle a really fine line there. You don't want to go too fine where you're hindering your ability to land a muskie, but
Mhm.
you can find a good balance there.
Got it. Okay. So you got that. I mean, does anything else really change for you, as far as how you're trying to get them or how you're bringing them in? I mean, what does that
Well,
look like?
yeah, that was one of the points I was going to say. From the bank, so you're out in your cast, you hook a muskie, and you get that muskie to the bank. In a boat, you can kind of run around the boat. You can keep that fish tight because the last thing you want to do is get that fish close to you and then just do nothing. Be like, oh, it's here. Okay, now what? Then your line gets slack. You're not. That's when they're going to throw a hook. So in the boat, you have the luxury kind of. You see guys in videos; they'll run laps almost around the boat with that fish to keep.
Gotcha.
And then they'll meet their buddy one time around and swing it right into the net. From the bank, that can be kind of hard. I mean, you get the muskie close to the bank, like what do? You can't run laps around the boat. You can kind of run back and forth on the bank if you want, but that's another thing why you really should have that net with you or right near you. So when that fish is at the bank and ready, you're ready to get it. I mean, you don't have to run up and down the bank and stay tight on them and open the net and unfold it and do all that stuff. Then you want to be ready.
Got it. Okay.
So from the bank, that's just one thing. I'm like pretty much always standing on my net. Like I might even have my feet like in the hoop of the net, like ready to go. Like,
Gotcha.
I'm not going to be 20 feet up the bank. Like in the boat, you can have it in the other end of the boat. You can have your tools in the other end of the boat. But from the bank, you really do want to keep everything close by.
Okay. All right. That's an awesome tip. Okay.
Yep.
You know what? I should apologize. It sounds like you probably had a pretty decent layout of what you were going to talk about. I should probably let you get back to.
No, man. I'm kind of going with you.
No, that's
I have
cool.
all these little ideas like over the past week, and you say something, and I'm like, oh, okay, I had an idea about that.
Nice. Okay. What else you got on that list of yours over there?
Let's see. I think I already kind of hit this, but having your pools by the net. I mean, because you can get in some sketchy situations bank fishing. Like looking back, I've had a few muskie in the net where you've been on like a really steep bank, and you don't in that situation you don't want to have to leave that net and like scurry over to your tools. Especially like what if you hook yourself? Like what if you're playing with the muskie and you hook yourself? You don't want to have to drag this muskie up the bank and get your tools and stuff. Like you want that all right by your feet just in case. I mean, it's tough because musky fishing does get grueling, and you're not always catching something every time you go. And you're like, do I really need my pliers? Do I really need my net? Just take it. You'll be happy. Just take it.
I gotcha. No, that's a good point for sure. I mean, there's been plenty of people hurt trying to catch a big fish, and then they get it there. It just that can be total disaster. I agree.
So you want all that stuff close with the net. Like the net and the tools for me go hand in hand. Like if I have the net, I have the tools, just in case.
Are you normally going out with more than a rod or two, or how does that look like? I mean, obviously.
Sometimes I'll take like 2 max, but if I'm going exploring, I'll take 1 rod. Let me see if I can get this here. This is one of my favorites. It's a 9'3" telescoping rod.
It's a big boy.
So, well, I mean, it's actually this is heavy, so I think it's rated like it's a little bit smaller than the rods most musky guys would use, I would say.
Gotcha.
But from the bank, I mean, that's going to really hit all your bases, like a 9'3" or an 8'6", something like heavy action. You don't really want a giant X heavy because that's going to eliminate, or that's going to prevent you from using a lot of smaller baits.
Sure.
You don't really want a super light rod. That's going to prevent you from using a lot of the bigger baits. So I like to kind of split the difference with like a heavy.
Gotcha.
That telescoping thing, that makes it really nice too. Like if you're walking through the woods, exploring new places, you don't have a big giant 10-foot rod swinging it around in the trees. And
Absolutely.
so I'd say that's probably my favorite bank fishing rod.
How small does the one you have? How small does it break down to?
I believe it goes down to like 7.6. I can get into my 7.6 rod locker.
Nice. Okay, that's all. Well, 2 foot, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it definitely does. And if I'm going somewhere I've fished before and like I know it's a spot I'm not going anywhere, I'll take 2 rods or 3 rods or.
Gotcha.
But pack light when you're exploring, I'd say.
So when you're fishing from the bank, I mean, I think a lot of people think of bank fishing as somewhat of a pain in the ass because you always have to fight through weeds, or you always have to, you got shit in the way. Mm-hmm. And my inexperience is going to be showing here, but most musky lures that I'm familiar with sure as hell aren't weedless. They got big treble hooks. They're getting caught on everything that they drag them by. I mean, so how does that look and how does that work for?
I'm glad you asked that because that's like another thing that kind of varies from the boat to the bank. I mean, your lure selection, like I said, so you're not going to be using a giant deep diving crankbait. It's unlikely you're going to be using a big giant deep diving crankbait from the bank.
Sure.
You might use something like I like these a lot. It's the Rapala Super Shad. It's a shallow diving crankbait. It's really buoyant. So if you get down and you feel it hitting stuff, you just let off it and it shoots right up. I mean, that's a really good lure to throw into cover. You're not going to be throwing the big giant bulldogs into the weeds from the bank usually. Sure. Something like a shallow diving crankbait or a small bucktail or even like topwater. I really like a topwater, especially in the summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So topwater is a good option, or a shallow crankbait is kind of what you're.
Yeah, usually like if I'm exploring a shallow crankbait or a bucktail, something you can keep up high in that water column. I mean, a big rubber bait, that's going to get down in the water. That's not going to be the best lure for exploring, especially if you're bank fishing. A lot of the times you're thrown out into stuff you don't know what it looks like. You don't have the luxury of a fish finder telling you it's 10 feet deep. Agreed. You might be thrown out into 1 foot of water for all you know.
Sure.
That's when it's good to have something that you can kind of like. I use that Super Shad almost to feel around.
Okay.
If I'm new to a spot, I'll get it down and I can feel, I'm in rocks. I can feel it clanking along rocks or
gotcha.
Weeds. I know I'm in the slop. I mean, it's a good bait to search around.
Okay.
And they're cheap. So if you lose them, it's not the end of the world.
Do you have any other suggestions besides something like that somebody else might try, get that same kind of feel and action in?
Yeah. I mean, a bucktail. I mean, that's everybody says it, but a bucktail, you can't go wrong with a bucktail. You're not gonna feel the bottom with it, but it's something you can keep up high in the water column. You'll know if you're in the slop. I mean, if you're pulling in vegetation, you're in some sloppy stuff.
Gotcha.
It's a good bait to explore too. I wouldn't go throw in the big giant bucktails if you're fishing from the bank, unless you're confident in it. If you're confident, throw them, but I like a 8 maybe, something a little smaller, something I can keep up and move. And
okay.
Yeah, 8 blades, I think. Something in this general size, not huge.
Gotcha.
Something you're not going to get snagged up and fouled up.
Cool.
Unless you're fishing from a bank spot where say if you're fishing up on Lake St. Clair or something and it's 30 feet deep, whatever, go for it.
Well, and obviously it depends on where you're fishing and what's in front of you. And yet again, it's so dependent.
Yeah.
So what else you got on your list there, Tom?
Let's see here. This is a good one. Be ready to get wet.
Okay.
So you're going bank fishing and you're going to land a muskie. It might not be the best idea to bring that muskie up onto the water, up onto the land with you. I mean, go into the water with it. If you know you're in knee-deep water, you're not going to die in knee-deep water.
Sure.
I'm not saying to get in behind a dam and a turbine where it's like flowing like treacherously fast.
Yeah.
If you're fishing in a creek, don't be scared to get in the water with the muskie. It's kind of cool too. You can get in and hold the net and you might be ankle or knee deep, and that fish is going to be way more comfortable that way than dragging it up in the mud and the weeds. And I see these pictures where people are holding them and they're covered in weeds. I'm like, it even looks cooler. Get in the water and take a picture with it.
Damn. No, that's all about the experience, man.
Yeah.
If I can get out there and grab that guy for sure, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, it's in the summer. I'll wear Crocs, and you can throw on some waders when it gets cold, and just don't be afraid to get wet and get in the water.
Nice,
Good one
nice.
for you.
Okay. I think that should be like every fisherman's motto. Don't be afraid to get wet.
Yeah, really. And the
For
fish
sure.
is going to be happy that you did that.
That one's gonna go on the wall.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to get wet.
I think that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That
cool.
helps you. That helps you too. I mean, if you're in the water with the fish, you might not want to take a year with it, but you can take your time a little more with it. I mean, say you drag that fish up on the land, it's the clock's ticking. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
if you're in the water with it, you can take the hooks out. You can take your time. Maybe get a picture standing with the fish. It just works out better.
Now, the stress on a fish, I think people really underscore that. The stress on a fish of yanking it out of the water, and I mean, I always think about like if somebody dragged me out of the water, and
Mhm.
and I couldn't breathe for 2 fucking minutes, I don't think I'd be real comfortable.
Especially
So
musky. I mean, they look big and mean and bad, but they're not the biggest baddest things out there. I mean,
yeah,
they can be sensitive. Especially in times when the water gets warm, they can be really sensitive to that stuff.
for sure, for sure. No, and I think that's the other part of fishing. As far as what we do, we're stewards. As far as I'm concerned, we're stewards of the environment. We're stewards of the fish and everything else that we're involved in. And I think we have to do a better job of taking care of those things as we're out there. I mean,
Yeah.
these are resources I think that we need to protect a little bit.
Oh,
So,
yeah, definitely.
including the fish we catch. So,
Yeah.
sorry, I totally derailed you there. I'm sure you had something good.
No, no, man. I mean, that's exactly what I was saying. It's about taking care of the fish.
Agreed.
Like that kind of goes back to what I was saying. You might have a spot that looks beautiful. You're like, oh my god, I know there's muskie here, but there's nowhere to get near the bank. There's nowhere to land the fish, and maybe it's in that fish's best interest to not fish that spot, or
Agreed.
find another way to fish that spot. Maybe get in the water, put those waders
Yeah.
on, and don't be
Yeah.
up there. And
I'm with you for sure. Absolutely. Cool. That's a good one.
see here. Another cool thing, I carry a little tripod actually. If I'm going alone, like a lot of the times, like my friends don't want to go slopping around the mud bank fishing with me for muskie. So usually I'm by myself, and I take a little tripod with me for pictures.
Oh, okay.
Because everybody wants a picture of their muskie, obviously, and that tripod it allows you to set up ahead of time. I mean, like if you're like if I'm like I said, I'm standing on my net, I'm bank fishing. I can go ahead and set that tripod up with my phone on it ahead of time to know where I'm going to net that fish. Where am I going to be when I'm taking hooks out? So at that point, I have a little remote around my neck with a camera shutter. I got it for like $5 at Walmart. I think it came with the tripod and the little shutter.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, but so then you have the fish in the net. All you have to do is pick the fish up, turn around, click your remote, boom. You don't have to go and fumble with the phone and set the phone up, and it's all ready to go. And that plays back into just being ready from the bank. And it's
No,
inconvenient. I understand it sucks. It's inconvenient setting up your tripod and taking your net and setting your tools out. But
it's a whole lot easier than fumbling with it when you have a nice big fish on the line.
yeah, yeah. And you're
it
not
is
always thinking that
fucking with
clearly
it.
when you get the fish in the net. If it's there with a big muskie, your brain might not be working that great. So it's better to have that stuff just ready to go. And
Yeah, I agree. A little bit of hassle up front is well worth it,
yeah,
especially to get a picture and all that. I mean, that's what we
do
do
it
it for.
safely. Yeah.
For sure. For
Yep.
sure. I like it. I love it. Okay. What else you got for us, man?
Oh man, let's see here. I'll go back to that. I was saying about like when you get a muskie up close to the bank when you're bank fishing, in the boat you have the luxury of keeping it tight and running around with it, whatever. Just like when you get that fish, don't up to the bank. Don't like you can run back and forth with it to keep that fish tight. Don't be afraid to do that. But like think about if you have like a 5 pound weight attached to your yard or attached to your line, you're on the ground, you're not even in the water. If you pull that 5 pound weight like close to you, you reach a point where like that weight isn't going any closer to you. Does that make any sense? Like your rod gets up in the air, no matter which way you go, you can't pull that any closer to you.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's the point where I see a lot of guys like freeze up. They get the fish as close as it's going to get to them, and then it's just sitting there flopping around. And at that point, that's when you want to either get that fish into the net or keep moving with it. Move along the bank, wait till your buddy's ready with the net or you're ready with the net. Just keep it moving, keep tight on that fish. Don't get it to that point where it can't go anymore and then be like,
Gotcha.
oh, what do I do now? Be ready for that fish to go into the net or
Okay. Is that where you're seeing a lot of folks really lose it at? Is right there at
Yeah,
that last,
definitely.
Okay.
Because that's you get or maybe for whatever reason, maybe the net's not unfolded, and you get that fish to that point where it can't come in anymore, and then they're like, okay, let's get the net out, let's extend the net now, let's get it now. You want to be ready for when that fish, and it happens fast too. I mean, you're fighting a muskie. It's not like it's like a 20-minute fight. If you're using the right gear, it's gonna be over like that.
Gotcha.
You hook that fish, the time it gets in, it's not long. So again, having that stuff ready, it really helps you there.
Well, if you're having a good time, you're definitely excited. You got a little adrenaline, you're moving. I mean, you're having a good time, and it's like, you forget things. And that, yet again, just as you're saying, it's being prepared. I think is 90% of my fight. That I try and have ready. As I go out and go fishing. But it's easy to forget stuff. It really is. So I agree 100%.
And like I said, that it helps to pack light. So when you're bank fishing, you're bouncing around a lot. You're not forgetting everything. I literally will take one of those Plano boxes, stuff as many lures into it as I can. I'm not taking the giant, like the guys have the big Lakewood boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll leave that in the boat. Just take a backpack, a box, your tripod, your tools, your net, and you're good.
Yeah, you fit most of that. I mean, excluding the really big stuff. I mean, in like a decent backpack, whether it be a fishing pack or not. I mean, you can fit the majority of that stuff in like
even like the fold up net, like that one I'm talking about. Like a lot of those like camping backpacks, you can just strap it right onto the backpack. I mean,
yeah, exactly. It makes me feel like I need to do a bit more bank fishing because I fucking love packing shit around. I don't know why.
There's something fun about it.
Yeah,
it's something fun about it. It's like primal almost.
Yeah, there is.
It's on the mud and
it brings up some kind of emotion for me. Probably the same for you. It's just there's something romantic about it that I just like. I like packing it all around and having a good time.
And anybody can do it. You don't need a $50,000 boat. You don't need to pay for a $5,000 guide. Just go on Google Maps and find a river near your house or a lake or.
Hell, you don't even need the $300 Walmart kayak. Hell, you can you can do it from anywhere.
Crocs.
Sure.
Get a pair of Crocs and you're good.
Pair of Crocs.
Mm-hmm. You have a pair of Crocs, you can go catch a muskie.
Oh man, I have a pair. I'm still disappointed in myself.
Nah, man, those are the all-terrain vehicles. Go anywhere with those.
I have the 4-wheel drive version, the ones with the Velcro on the backside.
Yeah, oh yeah. You pick those up, oh yeah, you can go anywhere now. We always joke it'll be like April and I'll be busting the Crocs out already. I'm like, oh, it's Croc season. Wet wait.
Oh man, the Crocs, the good old Crocs. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, this is a great time. I'm definitely excited you came on with us. I figured this is a good lighthearted spot for us to cut this one off. And
cool, man.
Love to have you back. I think I'd love to have you back on and we can actually talk a little bit more of specifics of not necessarily just generalities, but maybe dive into the details and get some more great info is for helping people get some fishing done. Yeah. So sometime here in the near future, we'll definitely have you back on and we can talk about using some of those big ass lures you got behind you.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this is believe it or not, this is like I said, this is not a lot. It's bad. It's bad. There's a lot more than you're seeing.
Musky fishermen are bass fishermen are too, but regardless, I mean, we're all a very special breed. I mean, it's like, so I won't even we ain't going to go into that. Not anyway. But no, that's cool. Well, thank you again so much for jumping on with us. I had a great time talking with you. I know a lot of our guests, I think people listening in are going to rethink, musky fishing from a bank, because I never really put too much thought into it and, thinking it was possible. And, it's
people get down on themselves. They don't think it's possible, but it can be productive. And if anybody has any questions, you can always reach out to me. I always like talking bank fishing musky.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So let everybody know where they can find you on Instagram again.
Yeah. At Pennsylvania Monsters, PENNSYLVANIA Monsters. You could email me T.A.VANATTA@gmail.com. I mean, if you don't have Instagram, I'll email with you about bank fishing musky all day.
Nice. Awesome, man. Well, guys, make sure you check out Tom's channel again, or his Instagram page.
Maybe a channel in the future.
The channel will be cool for sure. I'd love to see a little more musky action. I see too many bass in my timeline and Instagram. So, but no, man. Well, thank you so much again for coming on. This was awesome, and we'll be looking forward to having you again on soon.
Cool. I look forward to it, Nate.
Thanks, brother.